Yeah, let's get rolling. Welcome, everybody. I'll let you begin, my friend.
Oh, well, while Tammy pulls up our slides, welcome everybody. So excited you're here and so honored that you have come on this journey with us and that I can teach you a little something about the home buying experience. And yeah, hopefully you learned something. So this is not just a first time home buyer class, although we sort of based it a little bit, tweaked it a little bit more for first time home buyers. But you will learn stuff even if you've bought something recently.
Yeah, the intention of tonight is really to disseminate information to you to help you get clear on where we are in the Oregon market, what's happening, and to get questions answered.
Yeah.
So what I would love you to do is let's have you go ahead and use the chat, but I'm going to come to the chat when we're all done today. Just because we can't talk and I can't run the slide projector and answer the chat and all of that. So we'll get all your questions at the end. So please put questions in there and then we'll disseminate them all at the end. Um, all right, welcome everyone. Next slide here, Robin.
I was going to say, next slide. Click, click. Oh, yeah, this is a great question. We'd love you to put in the chat or just think, shout it out really even though we won't be able to hear you. Where are you getting your real estate information? Is it
Oh, that's
Zillow,
funny. The internet,
the internet, the
yeah,
uh, the
TikTok.
the socials, Instagram, CNN maybe, Fox, the news pundits? Is that where you're getting it from? We'll circle back to this later.
All right. Our hope is that we'll help you tonight really clarify and get you information crystal clear from people that are actually experts and know what's going on in the industry. My name's Tammy Wittrin. I'm a loan officer. I'm with Mortgage Express, and I'm here with one of my most favorite people in the world, Robin Creed.
Oh, hello, everybody. Robin Krieb. I'm a realtor with the Own It Northwest team with Real Brokerage. A little bit about me. I have 7 years experience as a realtor, and before that, a longtime teacher, which really helped me prepare to be a realtor. A couple of my strengths really quickly is that I'm very patient and I can pretty much formulate answers to best help you. Like if you don't understand something, I'm great at reformulating the answer so that you will understand it. So I love taking time with that. My superpower strength, secret sauce is that I forgot my secret sauce, Tammy. Tammy,
Well, I will
why didn't
tell
you?
you, I know your secret sauce. And one of
Okay.
Robin's, well, she has many things, but one thing that she's really great at is working with buyers, you guys, is an art. And not every realtor is really great at it. Working with home buyers, I hate to say it, but you're kind of on call. It's not an organized process that follows a system. It's really you're an at-will employee and you need someone who's fully in the game with you. I am old,
You're not.
hashtag old phone
No.
hag.
No. Oh my
But when I
God.
say that is I've been in this industry for a very, very long time, and I've been doing mortgage for a real long time. And you want, as a client or as a home buyer, you want a realtor that's in it and active because our market is this living, breathing thing that is changing. And the rules of the game are constantly changing. We just entered into the spring market, and how you approach a house that's on the market now, there's probably going to be multiple offers, how you're going to write your offer, all of that is changing and ebbing and flowing. And you need an agent that is active, that's working, that works a lot with buyers, not just listings. Um, Robin and I have done a lot of transactions together on the buy sell side, and she's one of those agents that immediately can collaborate with the other side. And what I mean by that is how you get an offer is accepted is that you have a great relationship with the other side and they like you, and they trust you to get it done. They trust that you're going to get your people to the finish line, and Robin has that. She also works with the Ross Seligman team, and Ross has been in this industry for a really long time. He's super active as a realtor too, but people love him. And I think that the collaboration they have on their team always brings like this fresh energy. So Robin's superpower is that she is always, I don't want to say always available because that never sounds great, but you really are. And we have to be for our buyers. It's so important.
Well,
Um,
thanks, Tammy. I knew I didn't have to go far with a pause before you were going to have my back on my superpower. I so
yeah.
appreciate that. I can't tell
Programs.
you. Yeah, go ahead because I was going to go off about how wonderful you are, but go.
Oh, that's so nice. But programs and products. I work for a local mortgage company. We have access to everything, all the first-time homebuyer products, all the federal products. And we both work. I cover nights and weekends for my team, and I'm available. And what happens during this process, and you'll start to understand this, is you just need a team that's there for you. So, Robin,
Yeah.
we're here to
Oh,
educate.
oh, we're here to educate, inform, and Tammy and my like mantra is we love to help. That's why we're here. We're here to serve and help.
And to serve. Single biggest purchase of your life, and our goal is to help you build wealth.
What we're going to cover this evening, the market and expectations. Is it a good time to buy? Renting versus owning, the process and timeline, what you'll be signing, and strategies.
Excellent.
Next slide. Okay,
Next
this
slide,
is huge.
please.
Yeah, real estate isn't a one size fits all. Every situation's different, and a good realtor is going to understand that and going to help you through it with that in mind. It's why you need a strong team. Here's your team layout, myself as a realtor or whomever you choose, and their support team. So, as Tammy alluded to, I do work for a fantastic real estate team. Ross, the team lead, loves to say we're like a little real estate army. My
Yeah.
team's always there. We collaborate. We don't siphon information. We share it. We're there for each other. We have a great ops team who's going to help you through paperwork and that type of thing. Um, yeah, so that's our support team. Tammy, you want to talk them through your team?
I also wanted to add on that lender side or realtor side, you guys, like I said, the market is always changing, and it is always changing, and it matters who you know and who you work with. Because, for example, when if it's competitive and an offer hits the table, we want the listing agent to know the company we work with. We want them to know of us as individuals, for the people we're working with and for. And then we want to establish the rapport in the transaction. I do a tremendous amount of education for realtors. I try to get in front of 500 agents every month. Quarterly, I'm in front of about, or quarterly, I try to get in front of 500. Monthly, I'm in front of about 100. So for me, the most important thing is that when my name hits the inbox of a realtor, they go, "Oh, I have seen her name. Oh, I recognize her name, Tammy Wittrin. She's a loan officer. She'll get it done." That is the fundamental reason I'm doing all this work in the outreach with the realtors, is for that. Rates need to be super competitive. That goes without saying. Um, your realtor's cost, et cetera, needs to be super competitive. That goes without saying. So that trust starts the transaction. And from there, then we rely heavily actually on the realtor, because they set the rest of the transaction up. And I'll let you take that away, Robin.
Yeah, I like in realtor too, like I'm the quarterback of the situation. Not that I'm more important than everybody, I just sort of keep things in play. Nobody is better, by the way, at getting a deal from start to close like Tammy Wittrin. There is nobody better. You work on getting it done. Full stop, period. Aside from the lender, we're also going to need an inspector. We have great inspectors that we work with. I always, always, always recommend that my clients get an inspection for a home because we never know the underlying issues that a home might have, and we always want to do that. So I always recommend that you have that. In addition to inspectors, there's all other contractors that are going to help look at the house if need be, if we need to call them in. And then our title and escrow team that's going to help us close the deal out, get title done, and all that good stuff,
Yeah.
recording.
Can I ask a couple questions of you, Robin? So the
Sure,
inspector thing, each house
yeah,
is different, but you're going to help that client organize whether they need,
you bet.
a radon inspection, a sewer inspection, and all that. And then you have contacts and you help get that set up, correct?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Unless a client really has a want or desire to use their own inspector, that is perfectly fine. Time is of the essence with inspections, so oftentimes we can get that scheduled super fast,
Sooner. Yeah.
which is really important. But I don't, whoever you want to use, I'm happy to work with. But yeah, super important to know what kind of home and what sort of inspections need to take place. Great point.
And then inspections are not included typically in the cost to buy a house when it comes to the lender side. When I'll give you your total cash to close, I don't include inspections. Robin, how much do inspections run on, say, a $500,000 house? All in if someone needed the scope of all of them.
Oh, all is again very dependent. For the
Yeah.
general inspection on a single family home, you're looking at it depends who you use, $500 to $600, and then you're talking a couple hundred more for radon if you need for a sewer scope is a couple hundred more. You could be in for 1,000 to a couple thousand depending on
Okay.
what you want tested, and that'll be dependent as well.
Yeah. On average, I would say 1,200 is a good number to think of. And when we
Great.
pre-qualified people or pre-approved people, we're always talking to them about, making sure you have about 2 grand sitting on the sidelines. And then title and escrow in Oregon, we the seller it is customary that in Oregon the seller picks the title company, and that is going to be this neutral third party. The lender is going to require that we provide free and clear that the house or the title company provides free and clear title to the house, that there are no liens or encumbrances that can take you out of title in the property. So in steps the escrow company or the title company that provides the title policy, and will require that whether you pay cash or you get a mortgage. Then the intermediate person is called an escrow agent, and that agent is a neutral third party, and they stand between the buyer and seller. In Oregon, we typically do not use an attorney. We're not an attorney state, we're an escrow state. So in steps this neutral third party. So when an offer goes under contract, it will go to the escrow company, and your earnest money that you're going to write, and we'll get into this a little more, will go there. And all of the money that goes to the title company, including loan proceeds, have to be signed by buyer and seller so that both are in agreement. No money changes hands without both signatures, everybody having signatures.
Great
Are we good
explanation,
there, Rob?
Tammy. Thanks for that. No, yeah, thanks for that. That was amazing.
Okay.
We're
All
working
right.
together for your success, everybody. Okay, so a good realtor is going to help you stay grounded in reality and avoid heartbreak. Now, listen, I would love a mansion on the very tippy top of Mount Hood with beach views. with, of course, a pool that runs down Mount Hood for me to, dive down and all that good stuff, right? It's a little bit, I might want it, but it might be a little bit out of the scope of things. So, you might want things that maybe we can't deliver on, but we're going to do our best. So we're going to set clear, honest expectations. I'm very honest when I deal with my clients, and it's going to help you to avoid later on, thinking we could get something that we can't. So I'd rather set it up ahead of time so we know. A good realtor is going to help you know what's happening, and they're going to know what's happening in the market. I love letting my clients know, depending on where you're looking in Portland, what's going on in the
Yeah.
market. So, for example, Northeast and Southeast Portland are going a little bananas right now, meaning there are so many people who want to live in the neighborhoods there. Different from Northwest and Southwest Portland. It's still hot there, but there's not as much competition as we're seeing right now. And we think it's because during the pandemic, everybody sort of kind of went out to Southwest and Northwest Portland amongst the beautiful trees and not as many people and not as many just like businesses around. And
Yeah.
now that we're out of the pandemic, everyone wants back to that. Businesses are open, Portland is thriving, and people want to be close to where the action is.
Yeah.
And then,
And this is where
yeah,
just using a great realtor, the pulse, whether you're Gresham, you're Hillsborough, you're Sherwood, every market is a cosmic market and they all change. And that's why it is so important to have your realtor. It's very important that your realtor is totally keyed into that area and able to advise you. And then when we talk about realistic expectations for the realtor, what is a realistic offer? Can you write under sales price? All of that. That's why you need someone who's going to, you know, get you up to speed right away in the beginning.
yeah. And I will say,
Are we good there?
what?
No, I'll let you finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard an echo. So even within those neighborhoods like Northeast and Southeast Portland, within the neighborhoods could be different. Within the block of the neighborhood could be a totally different story. The kind of house in the block in the neighborhood. So there's so many things that we narrow it down to. It's why it's important that we have a pulse on what's happening in Portland.
Yeah. I think weekly I do this realtor update, and it's funny because it's location, it's property. What is it about the property that's special and unique? And does it have the it factor? Is it the popular house on the block? And there are some that come
Yep.
on and there's going to be
And
a
I
bidding
know,
war. You
yeah.
just see it, it's special, and
Yep.
all bets are off. But
And you
that's
and
why
you
you got to have a
prepare,
realtor.
yeah, and I prepare my clients for it, right? You prepare them for, listen, we got to get in to see this quick because it's happening. Understand the market. Tammy, why don't you talk a little bit about this while I have a little.
Yeah, just understanding the rate market. Interest rates, mortgage rates change every day, all day while the market is open. The market opens East Coast. When we say the market, it's the bond market. We lock properties that are attached to an approved buyer into interest rates. So you have to have an accepted offer to write to close. You have to have an accepted offer to lock into an interest rate. That interest rate, once we lock it in, will be locked through closing, and that will be your rate throughout the purchase of your home, that 30 years. Now, while you get pre-approved, while you're out there shopping, rates are going up and down. And so the it's so important that your loan officer right now, because rates are pretty volatile, they're up and down. And right now we're in a the last week and a half, rates have been coming down where they spiked a couple weeks ago. So it's just very important that your team is very in tune and we're walking you through this, and that I haven't pre approved you or educated you with very low, unrealistic rates, because we want you to be excited when you go to write an offer. It's very important that your loan officer give you a cost estimate so that you know what the property taxes are. Those change on every single house, etc. So how we're helping you understand this market is evolving with all the houses. And then competition is, like we talked about, is it going to be the it person, the it house, the it girl? How many people are going to be there? And then inventory is changing all the time.
Yeah, I will say
What do,
inventory. I last looked, Tammy. It has risen a little bit. In Portland, it was at 1,261 last week. It's at 1,286. So even though inventory is tight, we are seeing more stuff come on the market in Portland.
Yeah. So this comes into the conversation about competition and what happens and where it comes from. If you look at this graph, it's a lot of squiggly lines, but if you see that dark gray blue in the background, those are home buyers entering the market. Okay, those are buyers that are coming in to the market, purchases. And as you see in 2005, the market, we had lots of buyers. We had way more buyers in 2005 than we did during the great pandemic. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And that is I know, right? I would have
And
thought it was different. But you guys, that is when we had a free for all in financing. That is when you could buy a non-owner occupied house with zero money down. So every time that the restraint or the constraints come in and they stamp down on those people that are available to buy, what happens is all of a sudden, then the people that are in here, the competition raises. So if you look at this graph and we go forward between 2020 to like 20, the middle of that, that is during the COVID pandemic, right? And how many people came in there. Look at how far rates had dropped. Do you guys see that? How far rates dropped to do that huge increase? See how rates were in that like 3% range down
yes,
below the yellow line of rates? What I want you to do is go back in time and look at where rates were when we had all those people buying in the market. Notice that rates were more in that 6% range. Guys, that's kind of the normal. Mortgage rates have been artificially um, pulled down because of federal intervention through quantitative easing, because we had the great recession from Wall Street, right? That happened in 2008 that made everything plummet. Prior to that, in 2000, when we saw the market drop, we had the great stock market bubble. Some of you are too young to remember that. And then we had the great pandemic where the world shut down. So every time we've had these volatile financial movements, the Federal Reserve has come into the marketplace and stabilized rates. And what they've done is they've artificially pulled them down to keep the economy moving. Okay. Lower rates makes people, even if they're uncertain or their jobs are uncertain, still willing to move through the purchase process. Well, we came through COVID. We had all this inflation. And how do you slow a market down? How do you get things back under control? Well, you ramp up rates. And on the far side, you see that rates have ramped up. But then look at what has happened with the purchase business. Do you see how that's dropping? Okay. But what I want you to really think about here when you look at this graph, obviously, super low rates, everybody gets in. But as do you see where the confluence is between where the rate graph is and the graph started coming down on the far right about 2022? Do you see that where it dropped around 6%?
hmm
It is
hmm
theorized that as rates drop to that lower 6% range, if today on a 30-year we were 6.75%, if rates drop into that 6.25, you guys, all bets are off. It's going to get busy again. We had a blip um, last year when we got to that 6% range, and I went from closing on average of, say, 8 deals a month to 18 deals a month, almost doubled. So, what I will tell you is that as rates drop, more competition is going to head into the market. Boy, that was a long-winded answer. Sorry.
No, Tammy, I could just listen to you talk. Normally rates, they can be a little bit boring for someone who's not in finance, but you have a way of explaining it that's like, yes, I follow. Yes, I get it. It's very exciting,
Yeah,
Tammy,
isn't that fun? I love this graph though to just really, get into stuff.
to see
Robin,
it.
talk to us about
Oh,
inventory.
okay.
This
Listen,
is a
I
good
love
one.
this graph because, or not graph, it's a graphic, the picture, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute. So, what is inventory? Inventory are the number of homes for sale in the market. We think about it like a shelf in a store. So, if you look at the one on the left, that is very full. When it's full, we have high inventory, and buyers have lots of options and, probably have a lot of room to negotiate because there's options there, right? If you look at the shelf on the right, not many boxes to choose. It's low inventory. And buyers have fewer choices. Homes tend to sell faster and for higher prices. So when we're talking about what kind of a market is, buyer market, seller market, a balanced market is about 5 to 6 months of inventory. Currently in Portland, it's just under 3 months of inventory, which is a seller's market. And when we talk about the months of inventory, all that means is if no other house came on the market for sale, it would take that many months for those to sell. So 3 months, that's the inventory we're talking about. Um, So you want to talk about the lock-in effect, Tammy? Because this is interesting having to do with
Yeah, this is
inventory.
Yeah. So I think so many people that are not in the market or want to make a move are like, well, when is the best time? When should I move? And the truth is this, you guys, you cannot time the market. It's just like you can't time it when you're going to buy a stock at its very lowest. I mean, yes, there are times to jump in that make the most sense. And then there are times that, um, maybe you pause a little bit. But the one thing that has happened since the great pandemic, and I want you to remember this, I want to go back to this slide. Just, oops. Oh,
Oh, going back,
Robin.
going forward. Go back, Tammy.
I'm
I got a
going
beep,
forward, so I'm
beep,
going back.
beep.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
now you're giving away
Wait,
everything we're doing.
what happened here? It like jumped about 400
It's
slides.
400 we have left, apparently. Go.
Sorry.
Yep, there you go.
Sorry, you guys. Okay. So, what I wanted to do was go back one more slide here, just this way.
You can
Sorry.
do it. You can,
And
yes.
the purpose of this, just going back real quickly, is as interest rates drop, and with the tariff situation, I don't expect them to drop that much. I expect them to kind of hold, maybe even increase a little bit, kind of stay in this room. But remember that as we start to get certainty in the market, as people start to really get a feel like the tariff situation is getting resolved and that's going to go in its bucket, right? I feel pretty good about that. We are negotiating with China. We are negotiating with all of the other countries right now, and we're feeling good as a country. Well, when that starts to happen, guys, things start to calm down. We're going to expect that rates will get a little bump from the Federal Reserve. They will jump in because then the economy might be slowing down at that point. If that happens and they lower short-term interest rates, will be like your credit card, your car loans, student loans, those rates come down. The feds can control that immediately by dropping the federal funds rate. That's what they drop. They don't drop long-term rates. But when that happens and rates come down, what I want you to realize is we're probably not getting any more housing on the market. And the reason is the lock-in effect. All of these homes, Robin, can you see my cursor
I can.
moving?
Yeah.
All of these homes, these were all buyers that took all these homes and they locked in at these rates down here. Do you ever see these rates anywhere else? See this couple years of rates? I think we refinanced everybody in the in the US into a sub 4% rate. When we did that, that fundamentally caused a lock-in effect. And that lock-in effect is when many of our parents, like my house, Robin, your house, we have really low interest rates. So for us to give up that interest rate, there has to be a super reason for us to move. They say that 60% of the market is locked in. That means that inventory that would normally come on to be in a normal market to 5 to 6 months balanced inventory probably isn't going to happen until we get rates down to somewhere in that 4% range. And those people with those super low rates feel like moving. So when someone says to you, well, is this a good time to buy? I don't think there's going to be this like surge, this amazing opportunity where property prices drop. I think we are somewhat locked into these current market rates. The values of homes are set because you don't have inventory. Lack of inventory props up prices and holds them there. It is my humble opinion, and many economists, that because of that, this is where affordability is right now. This is it.
And
Robin, I went
honestly,
off on a tangent there.
if I could
Sorry.
add to that, Tammy, I get people a lot that are waiting to buy until the rates come down. And well, how far down would you like them to be? Oh, I'm locked at 4%. You just, they're not understanding that you don't want rates to be back down there where they were in the pandemic because we're in a global catastrophe when that happens. That's not
Yeah.
common at all.
The
And it's
world
not,
shut down,
the
right?
world it's not good. And I would hope it wouldn't happen again. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But where are prices headed? I think so many folks are like, I don't want to buy at the bottom. Well, it doesn't matter if you buy at the bottom if you're not selling at the bottom. Does that make sense? If
Well, I
I
think
mean,
when you say buying at the bottom, are you talking about like a,
buying at the bottom of rates. Yes, you would
yeah,
love to
okay,
buy
yeah,
there, but it's not going to matter
right.
even if the market, prices dropped. If you're in your house and you're not selling, it only matters what's happening when your house goes on the market, right? You can't time this. You just can't. Prices, in my humble opinion, are going to increase. Portland is still an amazing community. People still want to live here. We have so little inventory. We have the urban growth boundary here, which many cities have nothing like it. We have a very livable city with great transit. We do not have the inner city dying. We actually have just the opposite with gentrification happening. My humble opinion is I think prices continue to rise, Robin.
Yeah, I think they continue to rise. I think also more inventory is going to come on, which might help that a bit. But also, we're just entering the spring market and the early summer market where prices tend to be a little bit higher for homes anyway.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
don't think we're going to get this huge push of inventory because of the lock-in effect. All those homes are off the market
Yeah.
because of
I
those super
mean,
low
yeah,
rates.
we are seeing them just start to rise, but not like where it comes on at a huge rate. So,
Yeah. All right. So we have some homeownership hacks,
ooh,
smart
hacks.
strategies for today's market.
So, can I start by saying that it doesn't have to be your forever home you're buying, everybody. Not at first. We want you to get in because homeownership equals building wealth. And so it could be a smaller home, it could be a home that needs a little TLC. Start small. It's a great technique for it. And then you use that equity to build up to your next home, which might be your forever home.
Yeah. Robin, how many homes have you owned?
Oh, I can count while you're one, two, three, four, four.
Yeah. I have owned 12. I am much older than Robin, but
Stop it.
um how you build, in my opinion, and I don't have parents that are gifting me any money. That has not happened in my family. Any wealth I build is through my own wealth. We're going to talk about equity building, but in your lifetime, you're going to have an opportunity to invest in your 401k. And that is one stool of your financial freedom, right? One corner of the financial freedom is you pre-tax putting money in a 401k. We love that. That will build over time and build you wealth. Then you're going to have your own personal savings, which I love. And you have to have a little bit of that. You might have real estate, right? We hope that everybody has real estate that allows for diversification. So it's not all in the stock market. And then there are people that also have a third thing, which might be, or a fourth thing, which might be a business. It might be investment property in a way, or some other vehicle to build wealth. But when you look at all of our vehicles together, there is one vehicle, and it is that property or home ownership that allows the greatest wealth building opportunity of all of those in that three legged stool or four-legged stool. You can't, I think the Instagrams have gotten us all very confused about what the first home looks like. My first home
Yep.
was on a super busy street. I had tremendous student loan debt with my husband. We barely qualified for anything. I think my first home was $60,000 on it was on Northeast 42nd, and there was someone who had just been shot at the bus stop across the street. This is how old I am. It was back in 92. Um, and that house was like 66,000. It was a little fixer. We got a FHA loan from it. I refinanced my car to pull money out. My mom gifted us 5,000 bucks, and the list goes on to buy this house. We had a roommate, my husband and I. Um, this next block is getting creative. Robin and I closed some some sisters 2 months ago that bought a house together, two sisters, and they wanted to get in. They weren't married, and that's what they did. They wrote a contract between them, but they bought a house together. I'm closing a loan right now with four couples. Four four of them are going to live in this big old 6 bedroom house. So getting creative, I think, has to happen. It's not forever. There's a time limit. Like typically, my first house, I stayed in it 2 years. There's a rule about capital gains that gives you a lifetime capital gains exemption. And if you're in it for 2 years, then that gain isn't taxed. So most people buy their first house. They hope to stay there 2 years. They stay in communication with their realtor. Once they have enough equity, they can pay their realtor off, pay everything off, and have some money for their next house. And that's where the equity comes from. And we're going to show you that.
Yeah,
Um,
I just met a buyer's brother sister who are buying a home together. I mean,
yeah.
it's doable. You can, didn't you have something with I wanted you to explain like, they're not roommates. So you're buying a place together. So obviously, how do you take
Yeah,
title on it? Or
they're actually all roommates and they're going to
yeah,
co-mortgage together. And there are actually four of them, and they have committed to 3 years to do this. And they created a little contract and they took it and they had it notarized.
it's a
So on
contract,
my
is it?
loan,
Yeah,
yeah, so they wrote their individual contract
yeah.
between them. And you know, every couple has their own room and they've agreed to do this for 3 full years. And they're pretty young, they're early 20s, mid 20s. And so they've agreed that at the end of 3 years, they're going to evaluate it and sell at that point. And they actually talked through like how to buy each other out. It's incredible. But I think it's a journey and you have to think small and it's not your forever home. You just have to get in. And we're going to talk through this thought process of just getting in because there are tax benefits, we have appreciation, we have equity, savings, and then Robin, you have um, the predictability of your payment being stable, freedom because you can plant what you want and put in lots of drip irrigation should you choose,
And
and
potted
you have just
plants wherever you
stability.
want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
What am I missing here? I hogged this slide.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
no. I wanted to just double back and say that annually, homes appreciate at 4% nationwide. In Portland, we're seeing just above 6% appreciation. All that means is the home is going to the cost of it is going to keep rising. The amount of money you have in it keeps rising. It's one of the best investments you can make.
Yeah, we're going to look at a slide that will break through that.
Yeah,
Tax benefits, I believe, yeah, my next slide, tax
there you
benefits.
go.
Um, so tax deductibility, you'll certainly want to talk to your CPA, but right now, and it's dependent on your income, um, you may also get to write off mortgage insurance. That is the insurance that is required that you provide when you buy a house if you put less than 20% down. In this seminar, guys, we're not going to, I have a couple questions in the chat about are we going to get into programs and all that? We're actually not. This is a bigger picture. We're going to get you excited to buy because your personal financial situation is unique to you. And it's so unique that if we start talking, someone hears something, and it really is very, they're not great seminars. I've done many of them, and we all get derailed. The best way for you to understand what you qualify for is to call me quickly. There's no cost to talk to me, there's no cost to get pre approved. It's very quick and easy to get pre qualified. I can do it in 10 minutes over the phone to give you a peace of mind about what your monthly payment would look like, how much cash you might need to close, and really what you qualify for. From there, the pressure is off, right? But the tax benefit, mortgage interest is tax deductible. So in Oregon, if you do not itemize, that gives you about up to 10,000 bucks. Property taxes are tax deductible. So typically between your property taxes and your mortgage interest, you get to that 10,000 bucks, and that's called the SALT tax. But if you itemize, you may have more deductions than that. In that, you might also be able to throw in the uh, private mortgage insurance, but it's not very often. But those are the tax benefits. So $10,000, just a quick heads up, 10,000 bucks off your income. Say you're in the, let's call it the 22% tax bracket. 10,000 bucks gives you 2,200 bucks that allows, and it changes on each, you know, each person's income, et cetera. But it gives you an extra couple hundred bucks a month that you're able to keep. You could change your withholdings that just buying a home allows for you. And the higher the sales price, the more that is. Does that make sense, Robin, what I said?
Of course, yes. That was a great
All right.
explanation.
This is always such a this is the reason my husband and I, my first husband and I bought a house is we put in writing how much money we were paying in rent and we were just mortified.
That's a
You
great
don't
thing to
think
do.
about it.
You see it in
You don't,
writing. I love this graphic.
yeah, geez, just 2 grand a month, In 1 year is 24,000. You talk about how hard it is to save money. It's because you're paying so much in rent. In 5 years, right? What we had done is we got a roommate and we just said if we got a roommate for a year, and this was in college, we knew I'm from Montana, we knew we were moving to Portland, and I knew we knew we wanted to buy a house. And so we always had a roommate, and um, we just slashed our rent and tried to keep our rent down. And that money went into savings for us. So
Mhm.
I just encourage everybody to just really think about this. Are you driving your house?
I've never
Yeah, I
heard that,
just
but I
did a
love it.
loan.
I was like,
Yeah, I just
well,
did. Yeah, I just did a loan for someone that has $1,000 car payment, and consequently, they're not buying as much house as they wanted because they're driving their car. Yeah, or they're living in their
yeah,
car and
they're
that is their
living, well,
house, but
not
they're
really, but
driving.
yes, I get the analogy.
All right, equity and appreciation. At 500,000, I just did this at 4%. Okay,
Yeah,
just at 4%,
which is the
500.
appreciation I talked about before. Excuse me. Yeah. So if
Yeah,
we take
no,
that,
that's
go
perfect.
ahead, Tammy. Yeah.
Gives you on the house for doing nothing. You're already making the payment. That alone, doing nothing, just living there, making the payment, you make in the background 20 grand a year. Now, you go to sell in 5 years, that house is valued at 608. That's what we're talking about. In 5 years, it's 608. Could have you saved renting in 5 years 108,000? Most people can't. This is on top of your 401k that you're saving, all of your other savings accounts. This is on top of everything because all you've done um, is leverage the house. Real estate is the only investment that allows you to control the gross asset value. The house value at 500, you got in for maybe as little as 32,000 bucks. Let's just use that 30,000. Okay. You controlled 500 with your 30,000. Your 30,000 in the market today at say 4 or 5%, right? Is, let's just say 30,000 at 5% is $1,500 a year. That's all you're going to make it on interest. Or you use that 30,000 to leverage and take control and buy the $500,000 asset that gives you a gain of 20,000 a year. In 5 years, you have 108. 600,000, you see the math, it's 24,000. 700, right? This is how real estate creates wealth. Lots of yeah, once I kept talking, the questions are, oh, I get it. I get it. Robin, did I answer? Did I say that right?
You said everything right, Tammy. This is, again, such a powerful graphic to just see. We could talk about it, but I think I'm a visual learner. So when I see it in front of
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
powerful.
So, people are often saying right now, oh, I'm going to wait for rates. I'm going to wait for rates to drop. And I mean, I wish I could tell you, we've been saying rates are going to drop for, shoot, 3 years, and they haven't. And all of the economists, all that federal, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, you name JP Morgan, blah, blah, everybody has
All the
said they were going to
names.
drop. Yeah. And they haven't. But here's the thing, with a 1% drop in interest rates, right? It would increase your purchasing power by 10%, or you go from 500 to about 520. Okay. Um, 10,000 bucks ish per $1,000. So, did I say that? It's about 10,000 bucks for every 1%.
1%. Yeah.
So if we're looking at this graph, if today's rates are in the 6.75 range, for every quarter percent, it's an $81 a month difference. Okay. You can't time this, but yes, there is a significant drop. But here's what I'm also going to tell you. I went out to dinner 2 nights ago, and my husband's dinner was like 21 bucks. Mine was 21 bucks. He had a $20 Cadillac margarita at a Mexican restaurant. And we had an appetizer. Like we were 100, how many times do you blow 100 bucks, a week anymore eating and we don't think about it? But yet we get totally stalled out with interest rates, even though you're going to have the appreciation. And so I'm just trying to demonstrate with this slide that yes, it's significant, but I don't think it's earth shattering. Maybe I'm too
Yeah,
close to it.
no, and listen, we're vegan, so that that amount of that $20 item is very, very, that hit home. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Um, I make up for all your meat you're not eating. That's a horrible thing to
I
say, but
don't know what that means, and I'm sorry for you,
not going to waste.
but but I love you even though.
Um, that's why we're such good friends. I'm
Yeah,
your yin to your yang, right?
yeah.
Whatever
Well,
you're
well,
saving in the planet, I'm probably
you know
losing.
what? We're going to a vegan restaurant next time we go out. I'm just saying. I'll help her, folks. I'll help her. Go ahead.
All right. This is a graph on a purchase price of 500. I did this at 6.75 at a 1% fee. It is very common right now to pay 1% in discount fee to get that interest rate. Now, 3% down is 15,000, 5% is 25, 10% is 50. Closing costs in any of these run the same amount. Closing costs are, um, say, an appraisal, the lender's title fees, or lender's closing fees. So, like, say, an underwriting fee, a processing fee, and then you'll have your escrow fees, and we have an appraisal fee. Those are fees that are constant that we are required to pay to complete your mortgage. Closing costs, one-time fees. Prepaid items, these here are items that we prepay up front for you, but you take over during the life of the loan. Prepaid property taxes, your homeowner's insurance. Okay. The reason this number is always so high is it's prepaid property taxes. We're going to prepay them, pull a whole year up front at closing, plus your year of homeowner's insurance. And that's going to run you probably $1,000, and then a little prepaid interest. So these numbers are pretty constant too. So you're going to have closing costs, this, and then that discount point, that 1% fee to buy down that rate. So it's your down payment, closing costs, prepaids, the discount fee, and not on here is that home inspection fee. And we'll just round up and say like 1,500 bucks. But 3% down at 500, about 32,000, 31,573. 5% down, all in, 41,004, but it would be closer to 43 because remember you have the home inspection fees, and then 10%. Make sense, guys? Those are going to be standard. You're going to see that on every price range. Robin, anything you want to add there?
No, and I think just that you will help them to figure out what makes most sense in their situation.
Yeah.
So,
And then the less you put down, the more your payment is. And your payment is going to be a little more because we're going to have this thing called mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is an amazing insurance. We only use it during the mortgage program process, and we, the lender, find the mortgage insurance. There are 7 mortgage insurance companies, and we shop them for you by interest or by credit score and by loan to value. Okay. And we get a standard fee. It's an insurance. Um, they're very similar, very, they compete against each other, comes into our pricing engine. So when we're showing you a purchase price, 3%, 5%, or 10%, think of it this way: the less skin in the game, the more your insurance. Okay. The less down payment, the more expensive the insurance is. The more down payment, it starts to get a little cheaper. And it goes away once you have 20%. The reason we have the mortgage insurance is if you go into foreclosure, if you do not make your payment and your house goes to foreclosure, to get that property out of foreclosure and back on the market, lenders anticipate that cost about 20% of the value of the house. And that's where the mortgage insurance cost comes from. That's what it's for. It's only in there until it's actually falls off once you have about a 22% equity position. So total payment on that 500,000 at 6.75. So loan amount 485, 475, or 450, principal and interest plus the mortgage insurance plus property taxes divided by 12 plus insurance divided by 12, total monthly payment. Okay. We had looked at rent, and maybe your rent's 2,200, 2,000, somewhere around there. Yes, it's more to buy a house, but it's not out of control more, if that makes sense, right?
so
Anything you want
everybody,
to add?
yeah, just on the mortgage insurance, if everybody's heard of PMI, that's what Tammy was talking about. It's also
Yeah, private
mortgage
mortgage
insurance.
insurance.
Yeah.
And you guys, again, we'll get into all of this
Yeah.
if you would like to talk about your own personal qualifying. Um, there are so many things I have found that, we can get into credit stuff and then we belabor stuff because someone will ask a question. I spend, 25 minutes talking about derogatory credit, and then the other people in the room have beautiful credit and it doesn't apply. And I think um, trying to keep your head clean during this mortgage process. We want you to understand the information. We're going to, on my team, how we'll do it is we'll make sure that you have all the cost estimates for programs, and we're going to give you the tools and the ability to make a very educated decision. And we're going to do that with every house. So when you're going to go out there and say you're going to work with Robin, and you have a house, typically I'll have educated you enough, shown you enough cost estimates in that sales price range that you'll know what it looks like. But nights, weekends, during the day, we're available and we want to get you a cost estimate. You will never write an offer if you're working with me without seeing a cost estimate so that you understand your total monthly payment. You understand the total cash to close. All right. Okay,
Oh,
Robin, I'll let you take over here. I've
yeah,
been
great.
blabbering forever.
No, that's not blabbering when it's educating. So the process and timeline of what you're going to go through from, hey, I want to buy a house to here are the keys, we're closing. I think it's important you understand this. So the first two graphics you see, the green and the pinkish one, those are interchangeable and it really don't matter that order which you do them in. But I would highly suggest, because you're watching this, that you're probably interested in buying a home, you think about your wants and needs. Okay, think about everything you want in a home, whether you want a single family home, you want a condo, do you feel like planting the potted plants like Tammy does? Or do you want nothing to do with that and you want a condo because they'll take care of the yard work for you? It's important to know. Think about your lifestyle. Do you commute to work? Do you have to leave your home for work? Would you like to commute and have public transportation be near you? What sort of hobbies do you do, and where are those located in conjunction to where you might want to live? Pets, please, please think of your pets. I'm sure you do. Does Fluffy need a fenced-in yard? Or are you going to be walking Fluffy every day by the park you want to live by? These are important things. Do you have a special needs cat that you only can have a one-level home? You want a ranch home? It's important. Your family, who are you with? Listen, we all have our sweeties, but it's okay to have alone time. Do you need that special retreat room where they're watching Love is Blind and you're watching CSI and Never the Twain Shall Meet? It's important to know if you need that separate space room and maybe your future needs if you're thinking of having this home for an extended period of time. Also important to think of, are you a handy person that doesn't mind taking on some fixer-upper projects, and therefore maybe the price of the home could be a little less to reflect that? Or do you not have the bandwidth for it and you just want to move in and live your life? You don't even want to paint. These are all really important things to consider when you're looking at your wants and needs. I will stress though that these can change, and a good realtor is going to realize that and going to help you work through that. You might tell me, Robin, I need a 3 bedroom home, and because I work from home. And then as we go to see some homes, you might think, well, boy, that's a neat flex space. Maybe I don't need 3 bedrooms. Maybe I need two is fine and a flex space for me to work in, something like that. So these can change. And, as you see things and as you reevaluate what you might want in a home. Next, you're going to interview your team, choose your team. So like I said, this could happen first. We're going to also help you work through what you think you might want and need. In choosing your team and your realtor, I get asked a lot, how do you pick a realtor? Well, I'd ask, who do you vibe with? I tend to bring some levity into the situation. I'm very professional, but you know what? This is a really stressful thing, buying a house. And so if we can add a couple laughs, I'm going to do that for you. Maybe that's not your vibe. Maybe you want all serious all the time. Know what you want and choose someone who cares about you and is there to help. And if you feel like you need someone who's communicative, then choose a realtor who's available for that and who's going to answer your questions. Not somebody
I
who,
would also
yeah,
add that you really need, you guys, in my opinion, as a loan officer. I see, I make we make a whole lot less money on a transaction than a realtor does. So I have to do a lot of loans. I have to do a lot of loans every month. And what I do know is you need a realtor who's hungry and who's working. When you're buying a house, it is game on, and you need someone who vibes with that with you. I think you also want someone who understands the paperwork, who's consummate professional, who actually is experienced and all that. And again, I go back to you can work with so many agents. They're out there, you're going to meet 100 of them, but it is so important that that person actually sells real estate and does a lot of it. That's my humble opinion. Getting pre-approved, we would love you to find your realtor and then get referred to me, and I take you through the pre-approval process. It can be as quick as you need it to be. I don't always love a fast weekend pre-approval on a Saturday morning, but we can do that. Normally, someone calls me, we connect, we do a Zoom call, we talk through wants and needs. You do an online application. Typically, that happens that day or the next day. Then we get your documents in. Depending on the speed at which you do your application, we do the call and you get your documents in, and you're not self-employed. If you're just an hourly or wage earner, I can have you pre-approved within a few hours. If you need more time because you're self-employed or we have credit issues, it can take a day or two. I have a client that started over the weekend with me, and I just finished getting them pre-approved today because they had variable income and it was complicated and their credit needed some work. So I think it's best to meet your realtor, do the once over, they refer you to me, I send you back to them, and then Robin's going to take over and set your search and start that process.
yeah, I just want to say how important it is. I need to double back to I meet a lot of buyers who are like, I'm going to wait to get pre-approved. No, we need to do it at the beginning, and I'm going to tell you two reasons why. First of all, Tammy is going to help you figure out what the max amount is, not only that you're approved for, but that you're comfortable with in a monthly payment. Those two things might be very different. That's going to help us to hone in on that search amount so that we're not looking for homes that, that again, we go back to setting expectations. We're not going to be looking at those homes that you're not going to be comfortable paying that mortgage for anyway. So it's going to save us time. And
Yeah.
more importantly, it's going to save us in terms of waiting because when it's time to make an offer, we don't have time to wait. And if
No.
you are waiting to get pre-approved, like we need that pre-approval, you'll have Tammy, you'll get it to me, boom, it's ready. If we take time with that, it could end up being the
Not
factor
get
of
the
you getting the
house.
house or not getting the house or
Yeah.
getting the house. In addition to choosing the team, and when you do choose your realtor, the way you hire your realtor is by signing the buyer representation agreement, which I'm going to go into later, but that's super important. After you choose your team, get a pre-approve with Tammy, we're going to again just review your wants and needs so that I'm setting you up on the parameters of your search. I set you up on a listing alert, which is going to give you email listings of homes on the market that come on and get to you right away so you can figure out if you like those homes. When you do tell me you want to see a home or tell your realtor you want to see a home, it's time to tour and offer. We're going to visit homes. We're going to talk about them. If you like them and want to make an offer, I'm going to review comparable sales and in the neighborhood to see what homes are being sold for so we can figure out a strategy that's going to put you in the best situation to get that home. Um, it's it's the process. I don't want to say it's a lot, but it can feel like a lot. And don't worry, I'm going to guide you through it. I have negotiation strategies. I saw in the chat, I would love to give you all of my secret sauce of how to win multiple offers. However, that's safe for my clients and my clients only. So, yeah, I can just get into general strategies. The best I can say is my job is to protect your interests and help you win the home, and I'm going to do my best to do that. From there, you're going to get a lot of paperwork for signatures, which we'll go over as soon as we make the offer. Anything I missed there, Tamara, you want to add before I go
I was
under
just going
the
to say
contract?
too, Robin can get the paperwork to you to review first and all of that. But guys, what typically happens is homes come on the market on Thursday or Friday, and they are looking at offers on Monday, and the showings are packed. There are going to be open houses, and you're going to be trying to get in there and see it. And sometimes you're not even going to be able to schedule an appointment. You're going to have to go to the open house. You have to be pre-approved. You're going to be calling me. And the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to probably have to shop under your sales price because things are going over sales price typically. We're in the heat of the market right now. If that happens, it's my job to make sure you understand how to write a really awesome offer. Are you guys, to make sure you're prepared to do that. And then Robin will walk you through all that. But in our marketplace, people are waiving appraisal contingencies or giving an appraisal gap. They're shortening inspections. They're, giving free rent back. And the list goes on and on. And Robin will be calling that listing agent and trying to understand what the seller needs. Do they need a super short time frame to close, etc. The contract is a legal binding contract. Your agent needs to be proficient. You want a good agent because there are timelines. Once you write a contract, once you write an offer, we are beholden to that contract. You can lose your earnest money. So we're going to keep this transaction on track and getting to closing. Your professional team, from the escrow agent to your loan officer to all of us. So a lot starts coming at you once you're under contract. And that's why it's so important, I think, that you trust the team you're working with.
Yeah, I'll add to that that we're not saying this to scare you. Again, it's about being honest and, you know, me giving you the honest idea of what's going on in the market. And that's not going on everywhere in Portland. Again, it depends neighborhood dependent, area dependent. Can we go back
Yeah.
really quick, the slide,
Oh, sorry.
back to under
I'm sorry.
contract? No, no problem. I did want to go into once we're under contract, there's different timelines that Tammy alluded to that take effect, and those timelines are different depending on what we're talking about. But you can expect to put earnest money down, at roughly 1% of the purchase price, but that can depend on whether we want to be more strategic and aggressive with that, if we're in a multiple offer situation, et cetera. And it's what you're comfortable with. But earnest money is generally, when Tammy said skin in the game earlier, that's generally how we kind of define it. It lets the seller know we're serious about that home and we're serious about making the offer. And it does end up, it's like a down payment of a down payment. It
It's
does
a
end
credit.
up,
Yeah, it's a big
yeah,
fat
it
credit
ends up,
into the transaction.
yeah, it'll end up getting credited to you at the end. The inspection period does depend. It's in the contract for 10 days, but again, we could negotiate that as we go. Very important to have the inspections. Um, Seller property disclosures, the sellers are required to provide to you what they know. There's a whole list of what they know might be wrong with the house, or what they've experienced is wrong with the house. We have a time frame as a buyer to review that to see if you're okay with that. And I will say that it's not a bad thing when the seller, they're supposed to be honest. And sometimes in their honesty, people can get very, turned on, like, oh, oh my God, something's leaking. Like, oh no, I don't want it. It's not a bad thing. It shows they're honest. And so some things, it's not as big of a deal as it might seem. If a seller says no, nothing's wrong with the house, I've seen that, and then inspection time comes, and there's a ton of stuff. So it's just something we have to sign and go through during the
Yeah,
contract. Yeah. And then there'll be, of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
loan application and whatnot. Final step. So once we get through that, things tend to settle down a little bit after inspections. There's the appraisal that'll happen. Um, and this is a great time to call and get your homeowner's insurance and call and get the
Yeah.
utility set up. So we don't want to forget to do that. And as soon as the loan goes to underwriting, if you have a loan for the final approval, we're clear to close, right, Tammy? And then
Yep.
we get the keys after the loan is funded and the deed's recorded with the county. I get to do one of my favorite parts of the job, and that's hand you the keys to your new purchase.
All right. I love that. And again, if you decide to get pre-approved, we'll talk through all that, the mortgage process, there are various steps,
Yeah,
but buyer representation agreement, you'll get signed. You guys, that earnest money. So on a $500,000 house, 1% is about 5 grand. That is a credit then into your total cash to close you needed. That 31,000, you now have 5,000 in it. And the point of it is to tell the seller you really want to buy the house. In earnest, you want to buy the house. Um, just so you'll get your buyer representation agreement signed with Robin before you start shopping. That says you agree to pay her. Robin, do you want to? That's sort of a thing you need to do one-on-one with clients. But do you want to add anything to
Yeah,
that?
yeah, and I'll say that, of course, if you have any questions that need to go in depth more, Tammy and I are happy to do that personally with you. But I will say with the buyer representation agreement, it's legally required. It now spells out the responsibilities of both the agents and the buyer clients. It lists agent's commission, length of contract, any additional fees charged. Here in Portland, there's a spot in the contract where we, under seller contributions, where we ask the sellers to pay our commission. Um, if they don't cover it, the buyer needs to pay whatever they don't cover. So I liken it to a copay at a doctor's office. You go to a doctor's office, they submit to your insurance to get that paid for you. And whatever insurance doesn't cover, it's your job as the patient to pay the
The
copay.
copay.
Yeah. So sometimes you have a copay and sometimes you don't because insurance covers it all. So we do submit that to the sellers to
Yeah.
pay. But we legally have to say that sometimes that doesn't happen. But you will be informed the whole way through,
Yeah.
so you'll know.
I, and I would tell you guys, I haven't even seen it. That is a lie. A couple times this year, and it was like $500. The majority of the time, the seller is paying the buyer's agent commission. It is very customary and you can negotiate it. And that's the whole point. It's now negotiable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disclosures, there's going to be title company disclosures, lender disclosures, insurance disclosures, and your realtor disclosures. All of these kind of hitting you all around the same time. We'll keep you on pace in all of that. And then negotiation of your purchase. That is between you and your realtor, and you do not talk to the seller. Um, Robin, Robin is that point of contact. She represents you and goes to the other agent, and the other agent talks to the seller. So it's very important that everything is in writing, nothing is verbal. We're really protected, and you're protected because of all the fiduciaries in this process.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to have a specific buyer's agent and to have that agreement signed because that is your protection. And I am your agent working for you. And you don't have to worry about any of that. I'm doing it for you with the listing agent.
Yeah. Loan application. Everything is online these days. You will apply online. I'll ask for your documents to be uploaded. You can certainly mail those in. Most people upload them. The application is a boilerplate application wherever you go in the entire US, whether it's to a bank, a credit union, or an independent mortgage banker like I am. I can broker and do internal loans. We all use the same application. We all use the same underwriting systems. We all use the same credit reporting systems. So we tri-merge credit report is different than Credit Karma or something you're getting from your Discover credit card. Um, our application is specific to the mortgage process. We want to see your address for the last 2 years. We want to see your income and your job history for 2 years. We feel like a 2-year look back gives stability to the transaction. We're going to look at your income and we want to make sure it's been consistent. Raises are awesome. If you're variable pay, meaning hourly, commission, self-employed, etc., we're always going to average. Self-employed people qualify for mortgages just as easy as employed um, people who are employed on salary or hourly. However, we just need a little more documentation. You typically need to be self-employed for 2 full years. Could be a half a year in a tax cycle and a full year. We're always going to look back, make sure that it's stable and consistent. Credit, we'll do a whole nother slide on the credit, but I just want you to understand that wherever you go, we're using the same algorithm. So mortgage lenders, our credit scores tend to be a little bit lower than what you're going to see on Credit Karma. Hopefully, when you're getting pre-approved, your loan officer is sharing with you total cash to close in your monthly payment. I think it's so important. I need to give you a rate. You need to see that. We don't lock rates in until you're under contract, but it is so important that you understand in the price range that you're shopping, what your payment's going to look like, how much cash to close. That's going to give you the confidence when it gets competitive, really to write that offer. And then the pre-approval matters. It needs to come from a company that has a strong reputation from a loan officer. My job is to call and validate that pre-approval when Robin sends your offer, to connect with that listing agent, make sure she understands I have fully vetted your file. You're not just pre-qualified. We've actually validated and verified your income, your credit, your taxes, and you're ready to go. That in a nutshell is the home buying process. So, Robin,
Yes.
when
When's the
is the
best?
best time to buy?
I get asked this a lot. Should I buy in the spring? Should I buy? Is it better in the winter because there are less buyers out? Should I wait? The best time to buy, Tammy, is when you're ready. Like Tammy said, don't
Yes.
try to time the market. It's honestly when you're ready, because when you're ready, we'll be ready and we're going to find you the house you want to live in.
Yeah.
Do you want to wake up in this house every day? Yes.
We had talked a little bit about credit, and I wanted to just review this super quick. Credit scores. So, the algorithm is built for mortgage. And the idea of this mortgage credit report is we want to understand, um, do you pay your bills on time? Do you have an innate flagrant disregard to pay your credit? And we'll see that because your credit score will demonstrate that and be very low. If you pay your bills on time, you will have a good credit score. An inquiry on a credit score is when someone um, looks at your credit. Okay, that is a credit inquiry. If you go to buy a house and they take a peek at your credit, that's an inquiry. Those are 10% of your credit score and can pull it down. When you go to buy a car, every time someone looks at your credit, they're pulling your credit score down. Every time you get a new credit card, your credit score is going down. Every time you move a credit balance to another credit balance, your credit score is going down. Um, Opening new credit will pull your credit score down because all of a sudden you have more credit available to you out there. So, what makes up a credit score? 10% are inquiries. 10% is the type of credit. Is it an auto loan, a credit card? Is it a home loan? Is it a student loan? What kind of loan is it? Credit history. Paying your debts on time matters. Payment history, okay, is different than credit history. Credit history are all those things that we're seeing in the background. I have a lot of people that go back and close unused credit cards. Don't do it. Leave it open because it's 15% of your credit score and it's back there just percolating, adding to the overall score. When you close history, it can lower your credit score. Okay. The payment history, on time payments every month as requested and required per the contract is 35%. So a late pay, guys, can really pull your credit down. Now, amount owed. 30% is amount owed. What this means is if you have a credit card and say the limit is 10,000 bucks, and every month you max that thing out, you're always maxed out right at that limit, and sometimes you go a little bit above it. That is the kiss of death to your credit. Okay. And the reason it is demonstrating in this algorithm that you are always right at your limit, always right at your limit. I had a client that, I was like, why isn't your credit score higher? They had lowered their credit card balance to like 2,000 bucks. And every month they were charging right to the limit every month and sometimes going a little over. And they felt like that was being responsible. But the truth is, if you go to the limit of your credit card every month or you're right there, call that creditor and ask for a larger loan balance. Ask for a larger limit. You will only want to use 50 up to like 40% of your available credit. That's going to improve your credit score. So, amount owed. So, think about this. If you get a new car and you put, say, 30% down on that car, the loan amount starts at 30,000. We don't know what you put down. The loan amount and the amount owed are the same. That is really hard on your credit score. New car loans are hard on a credit score. They can drop your credit score 30%, 30 points, 30%. So, what I like to tell people is rather than putting that money down, if you can afford a little bit higher payment, make 10 payments right when you get your car loan. So that amount owed and the amount available that you started with, your high balance of that loan is here. And immediately you get that payment down. That improves your credit score quickly. Okay. Was that clear, Robin? There's a lot of talking right there.
Yeah, what I'll add to that is when we're under contract, everybody, you don't want to go ahead and, charge all of your furniture for your home or buy a new car because that is going to affect or can affect your ability to
Yeah.
close your mortgage. So we warn against that. Just relax, furnish after if
Yeah.
you need.
Buy a car after you buy a house. Wait,
Yes,
don't buy
wait.
the car now. You could be driving your house if that makes sense. I really would love
I think that,
folks,
that's going to be my new
don't drive
t-shirt.
the house. Yep.
That's going to be my new
Call, let's
t-shirt.
get you approved. Let's Let's get you in a house first, then you can go buy your car. Okay, lending facts. How long does it take to process your loan? Meaning, when we talk about processing, not pre-approval, processing is when you're under contract and we lock your loan. We have some federal guidelines that we are mandated to follow. And some of those guidelines require a 3-day disclosure period for you where your documents just sit with you for 3 days on the front and 3 days right before we close. So out of that 30 days, immediately we got 6 days that are out of it. Then we have 2 days in between there that on the front and the back that are required for us to get an appraisal order. There's timelines that are happening for us. So although it seems like 30 days is a lot, we got a lot of stuff to do. And there's some time in that 30 days that we can't physically do anything. So if we're shaving days off on your closing, trying to get everything in there, we need every day. People buy houses and go on vacation. People buy houses and have a work trip. Those are so hard, guys. We need the time with you because even though you're pre-approved, everything in the file, once we're under contract, has to be updated and accurate and it has to be within 30 days of our close date. So we need current pay stubs, all of that. Once again, right as we're pulling that all together, you need to get on your homeowner's insurance. We are seeing that homeowners insurance binders are taking so much longer than they ever have, Robin. So we're trying to get people
Wow.
on that right away.
Yeah.
So the loan process, uh, limited time 22 days, but on average 30. Is it better to use a local bank, a bigger bank, your lender? I think it has more to do with where do you feel comfortable. Does your loan officer answer the phone? You have to have somebody that's available. Chances of you writing an offer on nights and weekends is very great. We do real estate nights and weekends. This is not a 9 to 5 weekday job. Um, doesn't cost anything to get pre-approved. Um, to qualify for a home loan, you need to have a general understanding of your income, that you pay your bills on time, and then those are the numbers, and then your general debt. Um, and then you pay nothing for my service. I get paid when the loan closes. I get half of the 1% fee. So if you have a $500,000 loan, there's $5,000 1% fee. I get half of that. So I got to do a lot of loans, at 2,500 bucks a month or whatever it is, less. Okay. Pre-approval lasts about 120 days. You can get a second opinion. You're not obligated to use me. We're at will, you're at will, and we want to earn your business. Did I cover that?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
And then I
Now
think,
we ask you.
we're getting close to ending this. And the real
Yeah.
question is, where are you getting your information? And is it efficient? And do you feel like you've got enough information? Right? Robin,
Yeah.
anything you want
I
to add?
think no, just that you should be getting the real estate information from your trusted professionals.
Yep, I agree. And again, we are your trusted professionals. We would love to schedule some one-on-one time with
Yeah.
you. Um, Robin Krieb, she's with the Real Brokers. She works for a group called Own It Northwest. I work for Mortgage Express. My name's Tammy Wittrin. We would love to earn your business.
Yes, we would. Thank you all
Let
for
me
attending our seminar. Any questions though, Tammy, before
yeah,
we
let me
wrap
go
up?
into the chat and just Robin, if you want to help me with some of these questions. Robin,
Yeah. Mhm.
have you had an experience where someone has signed a broker agreement and they want to break it?
With me, no. I have you can get out of this at any time, get out of Robin jail free. At any rate, if you don't want to work with me, no, not all realtors do that. There are some who charge a fee, but no, I believe that I provide a great, help to people and no one, thank God, knock wood, everybody, no one's wanted to get out of it with me. So.
Yeah. And then the second question on that was, have you felt like the buyer broker agreement has helped service and transparency in the real estate market?
I absolutely do. Before we had this as a requirement, I used them before, and I felt like it really helped. It helped really people feel like they're getting something because they're under contract, like they're getting a better service. Things were more clear, and I felt like it really helped. I don't feel like it's a huge jump for me and my business. I know some other realtors have um, struggled with it, but I have not.
Yeah.
Um,
There
Tammy,
was
real
a lot
quick.
of hoopla. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get you a question for that we have in
Perfect.
the chat for you. When somebody is shopping for when they get pre-approved with you, can they get when you talked about going shopping for at other companies, do
Yeah.
is that going to bother their credit at all, or how do they go about doing that?
No, let's not. Here's what I would tell you. If I pull your credit, we would do a soft merge. That's a really good question, Robin. We would do a soft merge, which is just one credit pull, happens behind the scenes. It doesn't affect your credit score. I'll tell you what that credit score is. Let's say 736. And then if you're going to shop, you're going to use that credit score when you're out there shopping rate. Remember, we lock properties into interest rates. So until you're under contract, you're
True.
just shopping your rate. And I would
Yeah.
tell you, sure, go to your local, talk to people, but just remember, this is all I do. I just do mortgage. I don't have to do checking accounts. I don't sell insurance. I don't do anything else. My team, I have three people. Well, there are four of us. We have worked together for 15 plus years. This is all we do. This is what we're committed to. We only close loans when our realtors trust that we will get the loan to the finish line on time, as promised, at the rate and fee that we quoted. So it is so important for my reputation and my continued health of my business to do what I say and to offer a fair and competitive rate. And that's why I'm with the company I am. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that was sort of a double whammy. That took like three of those questions in there.
That's all right. You got them.
All right.
Triple
And
ended
then,
them.
Robin, again, I think so the individual tailoring your tour and stuff that happens after you figure out your sales price and then you sit down and talk with Robin. And I think you guys get a feel for that, right?
Yeah, I think that was clear, hopefully. But yeah, we tailor it to I call it your parameters of what you're looking for, et cetera, so that we're maximizing our time and having it used efficiently.
Awesome. I think that covers most of our questions in a nutshell. And then, Robin, you have emails for everyone, and we'll get our home buyer guide out to them
Yes,
and some
absolutely.
follow up. But we're not going to stalk you. We promise. We would love to earn your
Well,
business if you'd like to talk to us.
just kidding. I won't stalk you. It's called me being your friend. It can be also known as stalking you. I'm kidding. Yeah. Yes. Also, if you know anyone who you think this recording would benefit, I'm happy to send it out. Let me know. Let Tammy know. Follow up
Yeah.
with questions. Happy to sit down with you or explain anything in this further. It's no problem.
Awesome. All right. Robin, it was great to spend an hour and a half with you. I
Of course,
appreciate you, my
Tammy.
friend, as always.
You too.
All right.
Yes. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. We appreciate you showing up. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.